How to cousins, it's Rusty, the reseller here, and we got a special video for you today. As you can see here by this table, got a bunch of stuff that I came across yesterday, a full day of sourcing. You're going to get a good look at kind of what a day in the life of Rusty would look like if he was just going to a variety of places locally and picking up this and that. We'll go through that, but really this video is to kind of answer the question I get often, which is, Rusty, aside from where do you go, more like how do you know what to buy, to resell? How do you decide? And so I'm going to give you, these are not exactly rules. This is more like the particular things that I keep in mind to help me decide whether or not something I see is going to be the right item for me to purchase to resell. I'm going to go through this, through the video. I'm going to give you, I guess you would call these some hot tips from Rusty. These are not the end all. This is not the perfect solution or answer, but these little tactics that I have, these strategies, are what have helped me be able to do this full time and provide for me and mine. And it also helps prevent me from making bad purchasing decisions, impulse buys, or things that will sit and not sell for long periods of time. Meanwhile, all my money in those items is just out there waiting to come back to me. So if this is something that may interest you, you're thinking about getting into this, or you do this full time and you're just looking to continue to increase your knowledge base and maybe come up with some tactics you can use, this video would be good for you. We're going to go through this. I'm going to give you real examples of things I purchased yesterday. I'm going to give you real numbers and tell you how I do my research. So without further ado, let's get into this, and hopefully something that I say today can help you in your journey buying and reselling. There's a variety of things on this table which I recently purchased out of a stamp collection, which I have pulled out to sell in small lots or individually. And I'll talk about why and what I think I might be able to get for these. And then here is this table filled of things that I purchased yesterday while I went out sourcing. This is sort of like the teaser look at stuff we're going to go through individually here in a few minutes. I'm going to talk about what they are, where I found them, how much they cost me, how long I think it's going to take me to sell them, and why these items versus all the other countless items that I saw in these same stores. We're going to talk about that, and I'm going to give you a little window into my world as far as how I'm going to evaluate things that I see and what I decide to do with them when I'm ready to sell. The number one thing that I think about and look at when I'm trying to decide if I'm going to buy an item, let's see, say I look through and I find something that I think is interesting. The reason for me having interest in something could be a variety of things. Maybe it's neat, maybe it seems unique or unusual, maybe it's something that I have already, the type of thing I've already bought and sold in the past, and so I have personal experience buying it or passing up on it, and now I'm interested in this item. So I find it in the store, I'm looking at it. The first thing I need to figure out is, based on what they're asking, price-wise, does it make sense for me to spend that amount of money? Now, that's not the end of it. So even if it's just $1, that does not mean that it's a buy. I typically want to be able to make, for items I pay less than $5 for, I want to make somewhere between 5 and 10 times my money back. 5 would be, times would be the lowest. And 10 would be kind of what I'm aiming for. But it has to be worth my time based on other things that are available to me. So if something costs $1 and I can only make 5 times, meaning $5 back after fees, probably not going to be worth it to me, not worth my time, when there are other things that I can spend an equivalent amount of money on and make more. So that may be something I pass up. Now, as the cost goes up, is what it's going to cost me, and the value that I think I can get out of it goes up, I might break through that strategy. Meaning, if there's something that I could spend $100 on, and make $300 on it pretty fast, I might still bite on that because the amount of money I'm bringing in is quite a bit. And it's more about the amount of money at that point and not as much the ratio of how much I'm going to spend and how much I think I'm going to get out of it. But if I'm seeing something that it has a certain price, the first thing I do is I get on my phone and I look up both on Google at sites like Etsy or some of these other boutique online sales sites, and eBay primarily. And I'm going to look at I'm going to look up the item. I'm going to see if I can find it. And then I'm going to see what has sold in the last 90 days. I'm looking at two things. I'm looking at how much on average these things sell for. And I'm also looking at how many of these items have sold, right? What I'm looking for and hoping for is that there are a handful that have sold for a good amount and that they have sold in the last 90 days, because I don't want to spend money on something and have it take 10 or 11 months to sell. So ideally, I'm going to make a good amount of money back, and I'm going to make it quickly. So this is just for me. I don't have oodles and oodles of money at my disposal, and I can't be floating tens of thousands of dollars for a year or two at a time. So if you do, that's good for you. You might have a different way of approaching this, but I'm wanting to try to sell things that I buy within 90 days, if I can, because I'm always going out looking, and there's always new things to buy. So if I have to pass up on something, that's not a big deal. I'm going to go out tomorrow or the next day and try to find something. So the first thing I do is I look at the price. I look at if they're selling. If they're not selling, or if not many have sold, or if they've not sold for the price I need to get back, then that's a pass for me. The only exception to that would be if there's something that I know it seems valuable based on experience or whatever else, and I've not seen hardly any sold, or only maybe there's only 2 available. Well, that may mean it's kind of rare. And rare items, if they're collectible, can sell for really good money. So that might be an exception, but I'm looking at the price. I want to make between 5 and 10 times my money if I'm spending $1 to $5 or even up to $10. If I'm going to spend 10, hopefully I can get $50 to $100 out of that item within 90 days. Sometimes I buy things, actually all the time I buy things for $1 to $3 that I can make $30 or more on, and that is great. That's actually our bread and butter, is those small cheap items that you can sell for 10 times plus profit. But then when you get to other things, like I bought a bunch of fishing reels a year or two ago. I was spending $50 to $100 a pop on those things. But one that I paid $50 for, I sold for $4,500. And you know what? If I had known I could make $4,500 in a month's time, I would have spent $1,000 on it, because I knew I could make that amount back. Always keep in mind your costs for shipping, and keep in mind the fees that eBay or whatever platform you're using are going to take out. After those fees have been taken out and your costs, I'm needing to make that 5 to 10 times. That is what I think about when I'm looking at an item. That's the very first thing. All right, so do you think, based on your research, that you can make 5 to 10 times after fees on this purchase? If the answer is yes, then do you think you can sell it within 90 days so you're not floating that money for too long? If the answer is yes, then it makes sense on a cost basis and a time basis. So let's say those have been yeses. Well, the next thing I'm going to consider is, how large is this item? And the reason I ask that question is 2 things. Number 1, it has to do with shipping. And number 2, it has to do with storage space. So the majority of the stuff that I purchase, I'm able to store at my location, the warehouse, where we have already. That's a built-in cost we already have. If it's something so large that I would have to rent a storage unit or something extra, well, that's another factor that I would need to consider. Is it heavy? Is it big? Is it difficult to move? Am I going to have to get a truck or borrow something from somebody? Because that makes it more difficult. That also makes it more involved. So that's one thing, is the space. Now, if it's small enough that it's very easy, I've already got a place for it, then that's great. If not, it's probably going to be a pass for me, because that's added cost, it's added time, it's added difficulty, and I want to avoid that if I can. So that's the space piece. The other piece is shipping. Do I already have the box and the shipping materials to package that easily and affordably? Is it going to require me to go buy another box or something else? Do I need a specialty box? Is it too wide or too long for something that I've already got or that I can easily obtain? I have in the past purchased things and I have not considered that. And then it took me multiple trips driving around and added cost I was not expecting because I had to pay for some sort of specialty box or contraption to ship this puppy in. Now, we at the warehouse do not ship freight, okay? We don't ship gigantic items. We're not buying a lot of furniture, tables, couches, stuff like that, or antique furniture, unless it's quite small. So that's the other thing. Are you willing to store this thing and spend that extra cost or not? And the shipping cost. Bigger and heavier items cost a lot more in shipping. And sometimes, I mean, most of the time we have our buyers, they pay for the shipping themselves. But sometimes an item is so heavy or so large or such a large quantity that the buyer's likely not going to want to spend the cost on the shipping, and then it would be difficult to sell it. So the next set of questions I ask have to do with the size of the item. If it's too big, I usually pass. I would say 90% of the items that we sell at the warehouse can fit in a 6 by 6 by 6 inch box or smaller. We ship most of our things in padded envelopes or little cardboard mailers or boxes that are that size, the 6 by 6 by 6 or smaller. We always have the packing materials, the tape, the bubble wrap, the packing paper, and the bags or bubble mailers available at all times at the warehouse. I almost never anymore, I would say never, do I come to a point where I have not anticipated needing to sell something and I didn't have a bubble mailer for it or a box. I've always got those. When they get low, I go get them in anticipation of selling more items. So it's a good buy so far on the price, on the time, and let's say it is a reasonable size that it would be affordable and easy to store and affordable to ship. Okay, now you've made it past phase 2. I'm going to go through each of these things here, and we're going to talk about why I got them. This right here represents a large percentage of the things that we sell, and you'll probably be able to tell why based on what I've already said. And that is, in the past videos, is that they're small. And they're easy to store because they're small. You can store a lot of them in a small area. They are cheap as far as postage to ship, and they also are very easy and inexpensive to package. So all of those are great things for buying and selling things like jewelry and watches. These right here I picked up for $3 a piece. And this is a really nice Seiko watch with a chronograph here. A decent Citizen watch. It's a little bit got a little bit of wear. And then a couple of Victorinox watches. These are Swiss Army brand. There's a collector base for these. None of them are currently working, but that's just because the batteries are dead. Okay, so what I oftentimes do is I don't put the batteries in. I just say, working condition, needs new battery. And so sometimes if it's a nicer one like this one, I will go and put a new battery in it before I send it off. But watches are a category that's highly collected. I have no trouble selling watches within a 90-day period. Here's a kind of a unique, I'd never found one like this before. It looks to be on possibly silver or something that's silver coated based on the tarnish on the back, but it is like a painted scene with enamel, and it says a Spirit of 76, and this is a historical scene from 1776. It's a pendant. Here are a couple of brooches that I just paid $1 a piece for. And it is easy to sell even common brooches for $5 to $10. We're not even talking about name brands or nice things. This has a bunch of beautiful gemstones in it. It is not missing any stones. Here's one as well. Whenever you flip them over on the back and you take a look and they're signed, MJENT. I don't know the name of that brand, but it is branded. I could look it up and find when they're branded, particularly nice costume brands or boutique brands, they're going to sell even better. Here are a few things I bought because they were only $1 a piece on the off chance that they might be made of gold. Now, I didn't expect that this one was, but it was a decent enough condition and unique enough look that I could sell it on its own or in a costume jewelry lot. And then these two pair, I do really well finding gold earrings because a lot of times people either don't look for the marks or they don't think about it, honestly. And so on the two of these, there were no markings, but that doesn't mean they're not gold. I've tested both of them, and they are not gold. They're both probably gold-plated or gold-filled, but they're not solid gold. But it's okay for me to spend $1 on each of these because if I just threw these up for $2, I could double my money. $5, I've done 5 times. And someone, these are worth $10 to somebody with the price plus shipping. I wouldn't have a problem selling these, or I could hold on to them until I have a group and then sell them as a lot. But my hit rate is actually pretty good. I would say about 25, somewhere between 25 and 50% of the time, I end up striking gold because I know what to look for to begin with, and either it's marked when before I leave, or I have a pretty good indication based on the metal whether it is or not. And so, for every 4 times I spend between $1 and $3 on something like this, it ends up being solid 10 or 14 karat gold. Well, I'm still coming out quite a bit ahead based on the price of gold. This was a beautiful little piece. It's not marked, but I bought it because A, I think it's attractive. I think it'll sell, and B, it may be silver. I just need to test it. But you got these beautiful cut glass beads. These may be check glass. I'm not sure. And this is a beautiful kind of like a glass little stone here, facet cut stone in this pendant. It's attractive. I paid $5 for that. That was easy. And then I bought this because I wanted to just say sort of a note about making sure you test stuff. So this is an interesting little bracelet. It's a stretch bracelet, as you can see, like that. It has these 2 little round beads with some Asian markings on them. And then this little thing looks like a dragon or something like that. But when you flip it over, on the back here, it has some markings, and it says 999. And of course, if I flipped it back, it'd say 666, but I'm pretty sure this is meant to say 999. 999 on something gold like this should indicate 99% gold, solid gold, essentially. Almost 24 karat gold. Now, I was almost certain that this was not solid gold. This would be worth $600 plus just in gold content if that was in fact gold. But I bought this. I paid $5 for it because, first of all, I think I can make probably $20 to $30 off of it, just if it's a common thing, because these are kind of like good luck charm type bracelets. Bead bracelets, but also just to say, to always test, because you can't just accept what marking is on the back. I did test this, and guess what? It's not solid gold. Big surprise. I knew it wasn't going to be, folks, because they don't put solid gold stuff on stretchy bracelet things that can break and you could lose the pieces. They don't put diamonds and things in bracelets and stuff like this because it's not well put together. But I think that what this is indicating is that there is a very light plating of gold, or it was dipped in solid gold on the outside of it. So it probably does have a little bit of gold content, but this is not a $600-$700 item. This is probably a $20-$30 item. But again, if I spend $5 on it, I know I can make my money within 90 days, and that is why I get this kind of thing. This is we sell this kind of stuff all the time, as well as gold and silver. These right here cost me $3 a piece, and they're both sterling silver. This one is marked up here kind of indiscriminately on the little clasp, and then this one, which I believe was made overseas. I don't believe that this was made in the United States. I think this was made someplace in like African coast, or possibly over in like a place like Nepal or something like that. It's not marked on this tumbler, but it is on this tiny little flattened ring next to it right there. You can kind of see like a little bit of looks like some tool marks, but if you get really close in there, you'll see that it says 925. I've tested it with a magnet. I've tested it with my scratch test kit. Here is a vanity set that I purchased. It's a, let's see, 3, 4, 5-piece set. This may not be the entire amount that originally came with it, but you're looking at some brushes here, a couple of brushes. You got this little item that was probably to help clean, fingernails or something like that. And then you have this vanity, like little handheld mirror right here, okay? And then this, which is like a little makeup powder box, and you got this little, little powder thing here, which you can put a little makeup in there and get it, and then, I don't know if that's the sound it usually makes, that sound, because I don't personally put on makeup in that way, or at all, frankly, but anyhow, this was nice. It came, it was $12 for this lot, and it's a vintage lot. What's kind of cool about it, too, is that not only is this from a different era of time, but it also marks a time period when there was kind of this resurgence in interest in sort of the, like, Egyptian or kind of Middle Eastern, that style of kind of what was going on. You got kind of like the sun rays up above it. You've got this female figure walking what looks to be some sort of animal, but I'm not exactly sure what. I'd say pigs, but they look a little bit too big to be pigs. I don't really know what they are, folks. But I think that it will not be difficult for me to make $40 to $50 off of this lot. And so, set, and if it was just one piece, I probably wouldn't have got it, but I bet that there'll be interest given the fact that there are multiple pieces and it's a full set. Over here is a tabletop cigar cutter. And so you can see it has this little lever action here like you would pull down like you were doing a slot machine. And what you have here are 4 spots. You've got a large ring gauge, a medium-sized ring gauge, and 2 different ring gauges for a V-cut. This is a straight cut, V-cut. So you would take your cigar and you would stick it down on the end that you needed cut, and then you pull this lever, and out comes the blades whoosh, to cut that, and now you're ready to light up your cigar. And it's kind of nice. It's not new. It's not old. It's not terribly new either. 2005, so not quite 20 years old, but getting up there, but it's still really nice condition. You can see on the back here, you could unscrew that to empty the used, spent pieces of tobacco. These go regularly for $60 to $80, and I got this one for $30. So I'll be able to double my money at least on that piece. I thought that was interesting. I more got that because I thought Peaches would get a kick out of that. Some little trays and bowls. You can see I paid next to nothing for these. This one was $2 as well. This is $2. It's a little copper colored. It's really brass, I think. It's an interesting design on it. On the bottom, it's really cool. It's just a little, you can hold change or little knickknacks. $2. I can probably get $14 to $20 out of that. Here is something for 50 cents. You can see it was scraped out with a tool, but this is a ceramic piece of pottery. It said it's made in Mexico. It's fired. It has a glaze on it, but it's this black color. Easy purchase for 50 cents. And then you got this, which I'm not sure if this is like an English monarch, or if this is more of a German, or even, I'm not really sure who this character is. Somebody can maybe tell me. I haven't done the research on it yet, but definitely an older piece. And cool. This is, I don't know if this is made to be an ashtray, or if this is just a little knick-knack tray. It may have been an ashtray. All of those I could probably make up to $20 off of, depending on how long I put it out there for. And then you have these. These are legitimate ashtrays. This one is from the Hotel Tropicana in Las Vegas, and this is from Harold's Club. It's for fun, okay, in case you didn't know, and this is from Reno. So 2 different ashtrays, same design, same type, same kind of gold lettering, probably the same manufacturer, but they were made for 2 different casinos in 2 different cities. And for people who collect this kind of thing, I already had this one. I didn't buy this today. I was using this as an example of another one that I found. I paid $2 for this one yesterday. These sell regularly for, anywhere from $10 to $14, sometimes more. I probably put them together in a lot for, say, I don't know. I'll probably spend about $5 shipping these. So maybe I put it up for $30 or $32 with free shipping, and somebody will buy those together. One of the other things you need to consider when deciding whether or not to purchase something to resell is the platform or the place that you're going to be selling it, and also whether or not it's allowed. You may or may not be aware that on eBay, the area that the platform that we primarily sell items on, has guidelines and policies regarding the types of items that they allow to be sold on their platform. This policy that encompasses many different categories and specific items that they prohibit the sale of is a fluid thing, meaning it's not static, it's not staying in one place. They're changing it all the time. There's types of literature, there are types of goods that come from animals, there are types of items that used to be manufactured and allowed to be sold that is no longer allowed to be sold because they are illegal, like ivory, for example. We have a video that we put out last year that describes a handful of those, which I'll put the link up at the top right now for you guys to see. This is not an exhaustive list by any means, but it gives you an idea. So let's say it's a good price. Let's say you think you can make some money on it in a good amount of time and you don't mind doing it. Is it allowed to be sold where you're wanting to sell it? Because that right there could be could cause the whole thing to be a no if it turns out that it would violate the policy of whatever platform you're selling it on. So first, go in there. I encourage you all to get on eBay's site and look up the goods and items that they do not allow to be sold. That way you'll be equipped and know the next time you come across something whether it is or is not allowed. Here are some other pieces that are interesting I wanted to kind of draw your attention to. Got this. I just thought it was cool looking because it had all these bubbles in it, so that's a first indication to me that this is probably a handmade piece, a hand-blown piece. I turn it over just like I would do with jewelry, and I discover what I suspected, which is that this has what they call a pontil mark, where they had been blown and then they snapped it off of the end of the glass rod, and it's very coarse. It's not going to cut my finger or anything, but it's rough. But then I discovered something else interesting. Look right here. If I turn this around, you'll see what appears to be letters etched on this, and it actually says BIOT. And if you look that up, BIOT glass, you'll find that there are thousands of pieces. This is a handmade piece. I don't know what you would call it. I don't know if this is like a shot glass or what this is, but I paid $2 for it, and I figured for hand-blown glass and something that's unique like this, especially since it has the markings of a handmade piece plus the etching of a manufacturer, I'm stand to do pretty well. I think this would be, again, a $14 to $20 piece. This is what I do regularly. I buy things for $1 to $3, and I sell them for $20. And a bulk of that. You only have to have 4 or 5 of these. If you spent $2, you'd spend $10 on all of it. And if I'm doing $20 a piece, that's $100. So I'm doing 10 times my expense there. So that's pretty nice. Here we go. This is for $4. It's a beautiful little I don't know if you would call this like a little rice bowl or what, but you can see this really nice motif. This has been hand painted on here. Now this has some condition issues. As you can see, there's some little thin crackling right here on this spot, which I'll have to indicate, but I still think I can make some decent money off of this. There's a marking here at the bottom. It's a beautiful piece. It's small. It's an Asian piece, of course, Japanese, I believe. Here's another bowl that's a Japanese piece. Now, they've got some condition issues here. Again, this one was, I say these were $4. I paid $2. It was 50% off. So I paid $2 for that, $2 for this. I probably wouldn't have paid $4 because of the condition on that one. But you can see this one, you can see these little holes, this pitting here, these little holes right here is in the ceramic. And this is just sort of an indication that this was not a super high quality piece that was made, that you've got these kind of condition issues here. But you can see it's a motif of like an outdoor. store. You've got the pagoda, or these buildings out here, people kind of standing there making some sort of arm gestures. And then also this gold leaf that would have been painted on after the fact, after it was fired. It's got some nice, and most of it is still intact. It's in pretty decent condition with regard to that. And then, the backside, you can also see some pitting on the backside as well. I'm sure it holds liquid, but not as good a quality as it, obviously it could have been. And then these. Now, I did pay $5 a piece for these pieces. They've got nice markings on the back. Again, Japanese. I don't know what maker / era / the ruler of the region is represented on that mark. I'll have to do some research, but this is what's cool. So again, very nice condition here. And then if you look, we have a variety of different animal motifs. We've got this sort of like a peacock bird, some sort of a cat-like creature, another bird of some kind, yet another bird, another kind of land-dwelling creature. This is something kind of like a deer maybe, or something like that. This is maybe like a rooster. And so on. A horse. It's really cool. And what I actually don't know is it possible that these are the zodiac signs from the Asian world? Maybe not. But several of these different animals, very cool. I think they're beautiful pieces, and I got 2 of them that are identical, so I can sell them together, and I hope to make some good money on those. These are just at thrift stores, folks. I got these at a Habitat for Humanity thrift store, and I got these at a couple of other just regular thrift stores, and they're just selling this stuff for cheap. I bought a bag of these vintage personal care hair cutting kit, essentially. So what you're looking at here, I don't know if this exactly fits or if this was used to kind of hold some of these pieces together, but it's a gigantic little safety pin type clip here that you can push in there, and it would hold stuff. This is an old pair of shears, and you can see if you let me see if I can zoom in here on this. You can see that blade coming in as I squeeze it, and so they would get up close and they could cut the hairs close. This is a vintage, probably from the 1930s, Gillette, what they call a safety razor with a handle. There's no blade inside of it, but you could still put a blade in it and use it. Actually, to this day, it's in pretty good condition. This right here is a little pin that is called Roller Curl. So it's an old curler roller, and it has the manufacturer there on it and where it was made. And then a few more pieces here. We've got some scissors, and both of these scissors are actually branded. If I can find it right here, this one is on the blade. It says Case XX. This is a 30 to 7.5 inch. I don't know what the 30 represents. Maybe that's the model number, but it says a 7.5 inch long pair of barber's scissors. And then this as well, they've got the serrated ones here, as you can see. But again, this is, there's a model number for this particular one, and then a case. Again, I could clean these up, but these will sell decently. I paid $10 for the whole bag. These each could sell for $10 to $14 a piece. I'm not sure about the Gillette razor, maybe $10 to $12. I'm not sure what that'll go for. And then these also can sell as much as $20. A little pair that's always open, and you would hold it like this. You put your middle finger in this, and then you would use these 2 fingers to snip, snip, snip. And so you can get in right behind the ears and get difficult places that needs a little bit more finesse. And again, it is branded. It says the Cutters Exchange, and this is the Gold Seal from St. Pete, Florida. So these were made in St. Petersburg, down there by Tampa. Cool little lot. I'll probably sell this all together. I think I'll do pretty well on it. And then something a little different over here. I came across a couple of these little pendants. And what you're looking at here, folks, is like gold foil in here. It has been dropped in a little mold, and then they dropped in some lucite plastic. So it's almost like a hard enamel type thing. And so they look suspended in there, and you could put a little chain on this and wear this as a pendant. I've got 2 of them, so I'm not sure yet if I'm going to sell them individually or as a lot, but I could do either and make some money. $10 to $15 a piece on those. And then this little thing, 50 cents, and it says SCOCO, high-grade fertilizers. It's made by the Southern Cotton Oil Company in Shelby, North Carolina. And you can see an old eraser here. This thing pops out, and it is a pencil with lead. So you'd flip this puppy around. It's being held in there to protect the lead. You flip it around, drop it in, and now you've got a full-size pencil with an eraser. And it is marked with the advertisement of a particular business, so that every time you see this or use it, you're thinking about that business, and you're like, oh, you know what, I should probably go back to SCOCO to get more fertilizer for the garden. All right, it seems like the price is good for the money you think you'll get back. You think you'll get it back within 90 days. You've checked, and as far as the size of the item, you're going to be able to store it without any extra costs. You're going to be able to ship it easily and inexpensively. And you've checked with your platform like eBay, and you know that you are allowed to sell the item. Everything is looking up. Here's the last rule that I incorporate for myself that this seals the deal. And I'll call it the 50% rule. Let's say you find a brooch, a costume brooch, and it's selling for, they want $2 for it. And you look online, and that puppy is selling consistently for $50. All right? You think, ooh, all right, there's nothing wrong with this. Costume jewelry can sell. It's small. It's cheap. I already got the packaging. Everything's looking up. But let's say there are a lot of them for sale. So you've seen them consistently selling for $50, but not all of them have sold. Some of them are still up, and they look exactly the same. Here's where the 50% rule comes in. I think to myself, all right, if I go with the average, I could pay $2 for this, and in 90 days, I'm going to sell it for $50. But there's a little bit of a problem there, because why would someone want to buy yours over someone else's when you have the same item? I'll tell you from personal experience that oftentimes the reason people will purchase something from old Rusty and not from so-and-so else who's got the same item for sale is when I am willing to sell it for less than that person is willing to sell it for. Now, if I wait a whole year, I'm likely going to get that $50. But you and I both know that time is money and money is time. And so if I'm going to wait, is it worth it to wait an extra 8 months to sell something to make $10 more? Or is it worth selling that thing for less in order to get the money back faster? Only you'll know the right answer for you. But what I do is I'll look at something and say, if I want to sell this quick, the best way to do that is to undercut my competitors and to list it for less. So what I ask myself is, if I pay $2 for this and I'm not able to sell this for $50 in 90 days, if I want to lower that price, could I lower it all the way down to half of what my competitors are listing it for? Meaning $25. I'm not saying I would start there, but let's say I bought this thing for $2, and then instead of listing it for $50, I list it for $40. Well, I got a better chance of selling that faster than listing it for $50, like all my competitors. But what if I listed it for $25? That would almost guarantee me a sale, and it would almost guarantee me a sale in 90 days. If I did that out of just because I wanted to as a strategy, or let's just say something came up and I needed that money, could I afford to sell that for half of what my competitors are selling it for? If the answer is yes, which in this case, buying something for $2 and then selling it for $25 after fees, you're going to bring in $20 or $21 to yourself. Is that worth it? Would you hand a friend $2 if that friend said, listen, I guarantee you that within 90 days I will give you $20 back? Would you do that? Most of you'd probably say yes. And if that's the case, then it's probably a good buy. If I could sell this for $25 and still make the profit, to where I don't feel like it was a waste of my time or money, then I'm going to pull the trigger. Now, not everything that I buy fits that category, but if all the other check boxes are yeses, and then you ask yourself the 50% question, and if that's also a yes, then you've probably got yourself a good deal. Here is a Ziploc bag that cost me $2, and what you're looking at here is a bunch of Marx, M-A-R-X brand miniature plastic toys, animals. You got horses, you got cat-like creatures, you got chickens, camels, pigs, and everything in between. This is a very nice large lot. I'll pull these out, sell them in a lot, but I'll stand them all up to the best of my ability and try to get multiple angle shots out of them. I'll also probably count them. But lots like this, you know, they can go as little as $10 or $12. They can go as much as $30 or $40 depending on how many's in there and what the collector is looking for. This was a beautiful little piece. I paid $4 for this because I thought it was so pretty, and I feel like I'll be able to get some good money out of it. But look at this kind of design in this. Very interesting. It kind of shimmers and reflects light a little bit. I don't know how they do this, but it's beautiful. On the bottom, we do have a signature, although it looks like it's been kind of scraped and worn a little bit. It's kind of hard to, I don't know if it says Lily Pond something and something else at the top. This is supposed to be a signature. It may be indicative of a location or a company that made it, but it's in really good condition. And, you know, I would say it's about roughly 6 to 7 inches tall. There's a term for this style, and I'm trying to remember, crystalline or something like that. But this blue color with the yellow, there's little spots that almost look like that, almost look like flowers or even like butterflies or something, which I think is quite nice. All right, I also came across at the Habitat for Humanity store a couple of golf clubs, and I love when they have nice clubs because they only charge you $1 per club, and it doesn't matter what it is. None of them are marked. It's just they have it in their system. If you bring it up, it's $1. So this is not like a well-known brand necessarily, but it just says Knight, and it's a really nice quality putter. It's got a good grip and handle on it up here. And then right here is a Ping Eye model. Ping is the brand, the Eye series, and there's several colors, and the colors I believe indicate things like lengths and or stiffness or flexibility of the shafts themselves. There's a model number here on kind of the hilt there, on the whatever you call that, the stem part that connects to the shaft. This is an orange. So I would look up Ping Eye orange, and the particular club has an S on it. This is a sand wedge. When I buy clubs, unless they're a really good, well-known brand, I don't buy anything other than putters, pitching wedges, and sand wedges. If it's a nice brand and it's a newer brand, I'll buy things like drivers or woods or even full sets of irons if I can come across them. But usually putters, as long as they're not, you know, super old, usually have generally okay resale value regardless of the brand. And like if you can come across Ping, Titleist, Callaway, you know, brands like that are still making really good new models all the time. And the reason I buy sand wedges and pitching wedges is because unlike irons and woods, where you're usually standing by your bag, hitting the ball and putting it back in, or hitting the ball and putting it back into the cart, you typically, when you get up to the green, you're going to take your putter and either a pitching wedge or a sand wedge with you, if you're in the sand, to go out and hit the ball. And oftentimes what happens is you lay a club down, your putter, to hit with your pitching wedge, your sand wedge. Then, when you're done with that, you pick up the putter and you lay the pitching wedge and sand wedge by the green and you go putt. A lot of times, people are absent-minded and they pick up their ball and they go on to the next hole and they get to the end and they realize, oh no, I left that sand wedge on the green of number 4 or whatever else, and they can't find it. And so they get home and they're like, doggone it, I forgot, I don't have a pitching wedge. I have an incomplete set. So they go to eBay and they search for one and they buy one. And that's exactly what I'm hoping is going to happen here. This is quite a bit of an older model, probably from the late 90s, mid 90s to maybe early 2000s, but I think it's I think it's mid 90s. So, not as many people are playing with those clubs right now, but I'm still going to give it a shot. $1, folks. I can sell these for $20 to $30 all day long, and I'm going to make some good money on them. I've got boxes that they're long. They're not as long as a club, but I basically put this into one, and then I put the other one on the other end, and I tape it in the middle. You're not going to pay more than about $12 to $14 max to ship these, and you get a discount if you buy them through eBay. Last couple of items here, folks. I bought a very cheap parlor guitar on eBay with the intention of trying to maybe fix it up or flip it, or maybe even keep it to play here at the warehouse. And on it was this old pickup. This is from probably the 1960s. It is not branded, but I believe it to be either a D'Armand brand or a knockoff of that, although I've never seen a knockoff of this particular pickup before. Not to say that they didn't make them. The Japanese market was making a lot of knockoff guitars and instruments and pickups under multiple different types of brands that they call it the lawsuit era, which is when they were basically ripping off Gibson and Martin and a lot of these Guild and Gretsch, a lot of these well-known Fender brands, and they were selling guitars for, a tenth of the cost. And to be honest with you, a lot of them are pretty good quality instruments today. A lot of them have those hand-wound pickups that are sought after by guitar aficionados. But it looks rough. It needs to be cleaned up. This probably needs to be cleaned up and resoldered. But it actually works. It's got this old school jack. But if you plug in and you put it by the strings and you strum the strings, it will pick up the sound. And so that's nice. I don't have use for this right now, so if it is in fact a D'Armand, these can command as much as $400 to $450. Usually in better condition than this one, but this one works, and so I bet I could get $300 to $350 for this. And even if it's not a D'Armand, it still may sell for a really good amount. All right, here's a bonus for you guys. Everything I've told you so far is exactly what I do every time I go out and look at an item I'm considering buying. But what about the exceptions, Rusty? What happens when you find an item and you can't exactly answer your own questions? For example, what if I find a piece of jewelry that's cheap, but I think it's made out of gold and they don't know, or I think it's sterling silver, but I can't tell in the store? It's $3. If it is sterling silver, it may be worth $50 or $60. If this piece ends up being made out of gold, it could be worth $200 or $300, and they're only asking $10. This is that question about what I would call speculating. It's not exactly gambling. Like if you go out to a convenience store and you want to play the lottery and you pay $2 or $3 for a lottery ticket, the odds are stacked against you. It's very, very high likelihood that you are not going to win. Also, you have absolutely no control over whether you win. It's just by chance, right? But in this case, if I examine a piece of jewelry, and there are several things I consider, and it all is pointing in the direction that this could be something much more valuable, how do I know whether or not I'm going to buy it and take the chance? I'm speculating. I am betting on the fact that my skill in examining it will result in me discovering later on that it is actually something more valuable than what they think it is, or what they're advertising it as being. How will you know whether or not that's right for you? I think it has everything to do with your confidence in your own abilities and the money you have at your disposal and how long you'd be willing to let it be out there. I'll tell you this. For me, I'm willing to take a risk on items that are $20 and less if I'm pretty confident that they may be more valuable, only if I believe that if it ends up not being gold or not being silver or not being the thing that I want it to be, only if it ends up not being that, I'll still be able to sell it and make exactly the amount of money back that I spent. So, if I buy a piece of costume jewelry thinking it's gold, and I pay $5 and it ends up not being gold, I need to be confident that I can turn around and sell that for $5 by itself and make my money back. you don't get to take that lottery ticket that's a loser back into the convenience store and say, well, didn't work out this time. I'd like to collect my $2 back or my $3. They'll laugh at you, okay? Because that's not the way it works. But when I buy one of these risky items, plan A for me is that it ends up being more valuable and I make more money on it. Good for me. Good for finding this thing that no one else found before they got it. But if it doesn't end up, if I'm wrong, which I am often, it is not a total loss. I can recoup my expense and all I've lost is my time. But you know what? It's not a total loss because that was a learning experience for me. I've had to go through many mistakes and losses in order to learn what I've learned. But you know what? I'm better for it because of my knowledge, and also when I do hit it correct, when I speculate and my speculation is correct, the payout on that is so dramatically higher than all of my losses combined. So it works out for me oftentimes to do that, provided I'm not putting too much out there. You may have more money at your disposal than I do, in which case you might be able to spend up to $50 or $100 on something if it makes sense for you. So I'm not telling you how to do it or not, but I will say this. Do not be afraid to take risks from time to time. I'm not saying take gigantic financial risks, but you know, sometimes you need to lean on the hope that maybe you have some knowledge that will serve you in a way, and take that risk. Because even if you don't hit it right the first time or the first few times, you are going to learn from that and you'll be better off later on. Paid $8 for this at a thrift store yesterday, and what you're looking at is a 1990s would be my guess. It's the Pro line, but it's a starter brand, authentic NFL jacket for the formerly the Washington Redskins. Now they have changed the name out of cultural sensitivity, and they are now the Washington Commanders. And so you're not seeing people walk around with this logo or this type of jacket anymore. So it's vintage. You can see it's in pretty good condition. It has the NFL patch on the shoulder. This is probably a $40 or $50 jacket, maybe even more than that. Pretty good condition. It's a size medium, so it'll fit a decent number of people. And then last up here, I want to show you this. I thought this was real fun. It's a telescope in a little box. I paid $4 for it. You can see it's like they're showing the different signs, all the different constellations up there. But inside, sure enough, we've got this little kind of cheaply made. This is actually newer. This is newer than this is, but this is the original monolux telescope here, mini telescope, and it does actually work. I checked it out in the store, and so we could set this puppy up and it would actually work. It comes with the original box. I don't know yet what this would sell for, but it's pretty cool looking, and I can't wait to do some research on that. Thanks a billion, cousins, for coming out today and being a part of this with us. Again, this video was not actually to tell you what you should buy or what you shouldn't specifically. It was more to help you understand maybe a way of approaching the decision on whether or not to buy something. Things are just things. They're just inanimate objects. It's what we do or do not do with them that's important. And so I hope that this gave you a little bit of information that will help you make wiser decisions about what you should or should not invest in that may or may not help you out in the future. Take care, cousins, and we'll talk real soon. Let's go find